This is a Willets Point Shea Stadium bound 7 express train. The next and last stop is Willets Point, Shea Stadium.
What direction are the Mets going to go with the kids, especially at third base? So there was a lot of talk today, and Stearns addressed this, that the Mets aren't going to make a move at third, and it's going to come from within. So it's going to either be Baty, Ronny Mauricio, Mark Vientos, or Joey Wendell. Keith, obviously we want Joey Wendell to be that Luis Guillorme, utility guy.
Absolutely, yeah.
Out of the 3 kids, who is it that you think should be starting at third base come opening day?
Yeah, Ant, you killing me, man. Oh, man, you're killing me, Ant. You really are, because I've said this in many circles. I have a very soft spot for third base for the New York Mets. I fell in love with a man named David Wright. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we have yet to replace him. I have a very it's like catcher for the Mets. You know, we always, when we're good, we always have a really good catcher, and like the ace of the rotation, it means a lot for the Mets. So for me, that third base slot is huge. Ronny Mauricio seems like the most favorable fit in many circles. But for me personally, because I think Ronny Mauricio is a better second baseman today, I think you're going to have to go with a more established glove at third to start. And it's got to be probably Joey Wendell. The reason why I say that is because I think we need to see Baty, especially in spring training. We need to see a significant step from Baty. I don't really need to stress too much on the offensive side of Baty. I need to see the glove, because third base is huge. So respectfully, and it's huge for me personally. And I don't know, and run prevention is what David Stearns is preaching. So in my eyes, the best way to establish day one that this is going to be 100% a defensive team, and we're not going to let easy runs get in, and we're going to be on top of things, is you got a double play tandem of Ronny Mauricio, Francisco Lindor. You have a very improved first baseman in Pete Alonso. His sabermetric stats are all improved from top to bottom. And in my opinion, you start with Joey Wendell. And then you ease in Brett Baty. And then you have a future third baseman and you have a future second baseman. Now, I don't want to get ahead of myself because we have other guys somewhere down the road coming up. But for now, for 2024, we would hit a home run if you pretty much have Brett Baty and Ronny Mauricio as everyday players and Joey Wendell filling in towards the back end of the season. But I will start with Joey Wendell. I don't know if I have any confidence with Vientos anywhere with a glove, unfortunately. That's just where I stand.
Yeah, and the Mets are, as well as Stearns has talked about, 2 things this offseason: pitching, and run prevention. So Joey Wendell kind of fits that mold. He's a more established, player in the major leagues than, Luis Guillorme was, especially with the bat.
He doesn't wear batting gloves, so he has to play. Yeah. He doesn't wear batting gloves, so he has to play.
The Moises Alou style.
Yeah, man. Come on.
Playing. Yeah. So, Key, let me ask you this then. With your brother saying Joey Wendell, let's say that Brett Baty gets off to the spring start that he did last season, where he was lighting it up in spring training.
Oh, boy.
Is Brett Baty the third baseman to the start? Because I really do think that they messed him up putting him down in the minors after that hot start he had in spring. I don't feel like he ever recovered from that. I thought that maybe took a little mental issue with him, and it messed him up. Obviously, they were going to go with Eduardo Escobar as, the guy to come out as the veteran third baseman. But really, right, in all, reality, Brett Baty earned that spot, I thought, out of spring training, and he didn't get it. So if he is lighting it up at spring training again, is it the same thing as, and I don't know if Keith, if you agree with this as well, would Brett Baty, should he be the third baseman, or are you still going with Joey Wendell? So I'll hear from both of you guys on that.
I think it's a tough situation. So if he has a similar spring to what he had last year, if we're reading into these David Stearns comments of him wanting to give everybody ample amount of opportunity, then it sounds like no matter what, we're going to see all 3 faces at some point play the position. But if the guy's hot out of spring training, you can't ruin his momentum. And I agree with you. I think that, last year, hurting a player's momentum like that, with him seeing the ball so well, especially playing against, some major league pitching that he saw, I think that going down to that, secondary tier of AAA is such a wide disparity in like talent, like across the board. So I think that hurt him. And I think that if he does come into the spring training, clear-minded, he plays well, obviously he should be the one to start day one. On paper, it does, however, look like Joey Wendell is going to be the one trusted out the gate, much like Eduardo Escobar, although I thought that there was a little bit more invested with Escobar, whereas Wendell, if he has a bad week, you probably won't see him play third for another week. They'll give it to a Vientos or a Baty. The problem that I have with that is finding some sort of continuity when it comes to placing out a lineup. And in terms of momentum, you got to give these guys ample amount of opportunities to give at bats. So I think that also plays a part to what's going to happen with the DH position as well.
Yeah, and to be fair with Brett Baty, he hasn't played a full season yet of baseball.
No, none of these kids have 500 at bats, and none of them. You need 500 at bats in my book. You get 500 at bats, you're not a kid no more. I don't care what the statistics tell you. If you get 500 at bats in my book, you're no longer a kid. So these are still kids, even Alvarez. So yeah. I think, look, the thing about Brett Baty, I have his jersey right behind me. Like, I'm a big Brett Baty guy. I bought his jersey. I believe in him. I believe in Ronny. I mean, to an extent, I believe in almost all the kids, right? There's other kids that we could talk about, but that's another discussion. The thing about Brett Baty that I learned the most last year is that Brett Baty is an emotional guy. He wears it on his sleeve. You can see it when he's at bat. You can see it when he's on the field. You can see all that. He is a guy that is tailor-made for Carlos Mendoza to put his arm around and say, listen, kid, it's okay. We're going to make mistakes. Even the pros Lindor makes mistakes. Pete Alonso makes mistakes. It's all right. This is not, end all be all. And I feel like you said, Ant, he didn't start the season with the ball club, right? So he felt like he was walking on pins and needles at every mistake that kid made. And I'll go back to the game in Philadelphia where we had like a 4-1 lead and Jeff Bridgham decided to break all our hearts and everybody pinned that on Brett Baty. Jeff Bridgham put the bases loaded with no outs when we had like a 3 or 4-1 whatever lead. The kid right there, that moment was too big for him, unfortunately.
And also that fly ball that he had right there, and then we obviously saw how the wind took it. Yeah, but like that didn't help either in front of the home crowd. Like it was his Alec Bohm moment, but he's yet to have that moment where the fans fall in love with him.
That's a good point too. Like I hate to go to the other team, but like there's moments where there's kids who have like, what is going on with that kid? What is going on with that team moments? That happens across the landscape of the sport. When it happens to us, though, because we're so new to having a whole bunch of kids come up at a certain time, we tend to overreact. We tend to take it and we digest it so fast that when we regurgitate it, we look at it and we're like, maybe I was a little bit too over like exergic with, my anger and my emotions and stuff. So you could imagine how it is to be in City Field is a beautiful park, but when you mess up at City Field, you're going to hear it. There's nowhere to run and hide. So it's unfortunate that a kid of ours that is homegrown had to struggle like that. I just think personally, if there is someone to help this kid get on track, it is a manager like Mendoza.
Yeah, for sure. Especially, him working in the organization with the Yankees for so long, working with the minors and all of that. I think a lot of it is not against Brett. I think it's a lot of Mets fans frustrated at what was going on last season, just in general. I mean, there was a lot of anger towards a lot of players. And I think Brett, unfortunately, had some moments where, he had to take it. He had to take it. And I think he took it the best way he could. He owned up to it when maybe someone else should have came in and, like you said, helped him out. For me, I think that the best alignment is to have Baty continue to play third and grow there and to have Ronny Mauricio at second, where he can be mentored by Francisco Lindor. I think that is the best possible option if this team starts hitting on all cylinders. We saw the interactions between Lindor. I mean, Lindor interacts with everybody. He's that leader.
Yeah.
But especially with the way he took in Ronny Mauricio as soon as he came up, I thought that was something that's important and something to help him continue grow. These guys, these kids are not seeing consistency. Look, we can even go farther back from when Pete Alonso came up.
Michael
What consistency has Pete Alonso seen?
Yeah.
Especially at hitting coach, Chili Davis,
Yeah.
all the different changes that have happened. And there has never been any type of consistency because, anytime the team does bad, everyone wants to change the person. A year or two after, they want to get rid of the person. Like I guarantee after 10 games, if the Mets are like 5-5, that Carlos Mendoza is going to be,
I knew it.
on the
Yep.
plank.